Hello everybody! Today I'm bringing you some more dev blog discussion about Beyond the Wire, the World War I first-person shooter currently in development by Redstone Interactive. We're just going to jump right in. So yesterday, we actually got a new developer blog discussing the officer orders mechanic that will be available to section leaders. After we talk about yesterday's update, I want to talk about the game modes that will be in Beyond the Wire, which were announced about a month ago. Also, throughout the video, I'll be running some clips that the dev released over the last month or so, in case you haven't seen them, and since I'm waiting for the Argonne minimap to be released so we can get a proper feel and understanding of the layout, I'll be saving discussion on that topic for a future video. So make sure to subscribe and hit that bell icon if that's something you want to see. Without further ado, let's get into the officer abilities. Available only to section leaders, officer abilities are going to be an interesting mechanic to play around with in this game. This means that section leaders will be able to enhance their troops' stats at key moments of the battle. The 4 officer abilities that will be in-game at launch are increased movement speed, increased damage resistance, reduced stamina cost, and increased charge speed. First, we have increased movement speed, which allows you to move 50% faster for 3 seconds. The cooldown time is 5 minutes. Next is increased damage resistance, which provides 25% reduction in damage taken for 3 seconds with a 5-minute cooldown. Third is reduced stamina cost, which reduces the rate you lose stamina by 50% for 3 seconds. This also has a 5-minute cooldown. And last is increased charge speed, which gives soldiers charging with bayonets equipped a 50% speed increase and a cooldown of 5 minutes. So let's talk about this. The developers do mention that the ability durations and cooldown speeds are not set in stone and are subject to change. Also, they talk about the potential of having faction-specific abilities later down the line, which I think is a great idea that would allow for more replayability. Perhaps more interesting than that, it could change the way you approach similar situations, depending on which faction you play. One thing that was not made clear is how often you'll be able to switch between these abilities. The dev blog just says only one ability can be active at any given time. So this could just mean that you can switch between them until they are activated, where you may have to wait for the cooldown and then switch to a new ability. In my opinion, officer abilities are a welcome addition to a game where teamwork and communication is key. Since the player will have to stay near his section leader in order to receive these effects, these abilities should encourage players to stick near their section leader, and when the time does come to sprint across no man's land or charge the enemy's front lines with bayonets, you'll be glad you're a team player. And before we move on, I would be extremely grateful if you headed down below and hit that subscribe button, and also click that bell so you don't miss another upload. I also stream on Twitch Tuesdays and Thursdays at 7:30 Eastern Time, links in the description. Now let's get back into it. Next, we're discussing the updates we've had on the game modes, and boy do I have a lot to say, so hold on. All the game modes will be available on all available maps. The 2 game modes we'll be talking about today are Frontlines and Assault. We'll start off with Frontlines. The best way I can explain this game mode is that it's like a territory control as we've seen in the game Squad. Territory Control is a game where large hexagons are distributed across the map, and you have to capture the majority of those hexagons, or territories. To activate the territory for capture, you have to already have control of a bordering territory. In the Frontlines game mode, the concept still resembles territory control, however the game is divided into phases, and at the end of each phase, the team that holds the most territories will advance towards the losing team's headquarters. You must capture the enemy's headquarters or hold more territory than the enemy to win. This seems like a very interesting way to keep a feeling of an army advancing towards an entrenched enemy line. I'm sure that once you get deeper behind enemy lines, it'll become more difficult to take the territories, causing you to be in danger of getting pushed back. I can see things breaking down once the first phase is over if the losing team doesn't quickly realize that they've been pushed back. A team will likely need to be disciplined enough to know when it's time to retreat in order to keep themselves from being completely overrun. With that being said, we'll have to see what advantages, if any, the losing team will enjoy on the back foot and how balanced the game will actually be after the end of the first phase. Some things I'd like to see is some variation in sector sizes, variation in the number of sectors, and even a variation in the territory layout in each sector would be nice. This game has a lot of potential to be relevant to a niche group of players who want an authentic World War I experience, but to be more relevant to some casual players, you'll need fast-paced gameplay, entertaining gameplay, but you also need a variety in your gameplay. Adding extra wrinkles to the existing game modes can only help introduce more variety to the game. Beyond the Wire already seems to be focused on a more fast-paced experience than Squad and Postscriptum, and anyone who's played those games just knows how much fun it is. Like, it's so much fun, despite how slow the pace actually can be. So, while I'm confident the 2 game modes that have been announced aren't all we'll be getting, I think adding some more variety to the game modes makes sense and can only improve the replayability of the game. But, all things considered, I think Frontline seems to be a very convincing game mode for a World War I first-person shooter, and it seems like it'll put me right into the feeling of being in the trenches with the boys, just as this next game mode. Assault. In the Assault game mode, one team will be attacking and one is defending. This reminds me a little bit of Utah Beach from Postscriptum. Basically, the Americans are the assaulting force, the Germans are the defending force. The Americans typically have to capture 2 points simultaneously in order to move on to the next objective. In the Assault game mode, the defending team will have sectors as lines of defense, represented on this map as smaller blue rectangles. Each sector will have a number of capture points. While the amount of capture points can vary, to continue on to the next sector, the attacking team must secure all the capture points simultaneously. If the attacking team makes it to the enemy headquarters, they're victorious. For the defending team to win, they just need to hold on until the attacking team runs out of time. To me, this is an easy to understand game mode that will allow for a vastly different gameplay experience depending if you're on the attacking team or the defending team. Hopefully in the future there'll be some variety in the capture points that are in each sector, as well as the number and size of the defending team's sectors, and even adding a little bit of randomness in the layout and changing the number of capture points within the sectors could add extra layers of replayability. So there we have it. Weapons, artillery in action, interesting game modes, and a clever idea in the officer abilities coming to Beyond the Wire. If you've made it this far, please make sure to leave a like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and leave a comment with your feedback. I always appreciate seeing you guys in the comment section. With that, thank you all so much for watching. Until next time, guys.